Hello, friends, and welcome to this episode of the Secrets of a Witch podcast. As always, it is so good to be here. I am Sabrina Scott, and on this podcast, we talk about life, love, magic, healing, spirituality, witchcraft, tarot, and everything in between. Thank you so much to everyone who has left a review, who has subscribed, who has given a little rating and shared with a friend. Thank you. It honestly means the absolute world to me. So thank you. If you dig this podcast and you haven't shared it yet, please do. It is really helpful and just makes my day. So let's launch into it. So today's episode is maybe a little bit spicy. I might offend some folks with this as per the usual, but whatevs, that's what I do. So I want to talk about soulmates, twin flames, past lives, and all of that stuff in mostly in a dating context, actually, though it can really be applied to any relationship in our life. I know some of us maybe feel like friends or whatever have been people that we've known in past lives, etc., though I do often see this soulmate past life connection come up in a dating, romantic, love, sexy context. So let's talk about it, because there was a time when I was getting a million questions about what is a twin flame? How do I find my twin flame? Blah, 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 blah. And I get it. I get the desire to finally find that person, especially if you've been single for a long time, especially if you feel like you're carrying a lot of weight alone, and it would feel really good to have love and support and just that person in your corner. If you don't have that, absolutely, that is such a compelling, beautiful, resonant idea. And when I did have that, it felt fucking awesome, and I was so productive, and it was amazing. But I do see this idea of past lives and twin flame and soulmate and whatever sometimes create a bit of a fuck up in people's lives. It's something kind of gets stuck in the machine, and it kind of screeches and breaks in a way. So let's talk about it, because I'm not against the idea of soulmates. I'm not against the idea of twin flame. I'm definitely not against the idea that there are certain people that we've encountered in a past life, and it feels very cosmic and fated and, soul aligned and kind of crazy when we meet. I've definitely had situations like that. It's a thing. I've talked to some married friends about this too, and one of the things I've heard from a few folks is that they were so sure that when they met that person that, that was their soulmate, love at first sight. I've heard that from a bunch of folks who've been married for a bazillion years, and I'm so fucking stoked for them, and that's their experience. I think it's so beautiful, and yay. But this episode, I kind of wanted to talk not about that, because there's not really that much to say, but I want to talk about the flip side. It's what happens when you meet your soulmate or a twin flame or someone that you've known in a past life, and that connection is so fire, but then that person is fucking crazy or an alcoholic or dysfunctional or kind of abusive or whatever, right? What happens? And I think, unfortunately, a lot of the time, people who are at the receiving end of this stuff will kind of contort themselves, as I've said in previous episodes, into a pretzel to keep that relationship going and to keep that other person happy, because, oh, well, we knew each other in a past life, or we knew each other, whatever, and there's my twin flame, etc., whatever the fuck terminology you want to use, I don't care. I'm all kind of talking about the same thing. Right? And so I see people, whether intentionally or not, kind of using these spiritual concepts either to abuse other people or to make excuses for abusive people in their lives, right? And like, to me, that's where I'm like, okay, red flag, I need to step in here and say something about this, just because I've seen it happen and I've had people try to do it to me, which has been so interesting to like experience and observe. And so I just want to talk about that. So first and foremost, you know, like, I do believe in soulmates. I do believe that we each have multiple people that could be our soulmate. Like, I do believe we have these multiple connections. I do believe in love. I do believe in all that stuff. And I guess to kind of ground what I'm going to say here, I will share like a brief personal anecdote that you guys might find insane, but just to kind of illustrate where I'm coming from, and that I really do believe in this like cosmic, beautiful, soulful love vibe. So my first love I met on the internet when I was 13. Seriously. And we met on an art website. If you are my age, you probably can take a guess what website that was. I'm not going to say what it was because we're not going to do that. And I don't know what it was or how it happened, but we just started like chit-chatting on the website, and then took it to like, I think it was AOL Messenger, whatever the hell at that time, I can't even remember. And over time, just chatting, and like, we had never seen what each other looked like. Like, I fell in love with this person, and that sounded fucking crazy. And at one point I had a dream of like what this person looked like. And eventually I was like, hey, can you send me a photo? And when the person sent me a photo, I was like, oh my God, that's exactly like what I dreamed that they would look like, which was so crazy. Like, but I already had fallen in love with this person before I even knew what they looked like, which was a crazy and like a beautiful, eye-opening experience. And honestly, if it wasn't for this person, I would probably not be alive today, you know, like, touch wood, because I'm superstitious. But this person really supported me through a really hard time in my life, really, really hard time. And so I'll be forever thankful to them for doing that and for being such a supportive person. So our paths really collided at this beautiful time. Did we end up together? No. Even though it was like this cosmic, beautiful, I would say like soulmate connection. You know, being teenagers, we were both stupid. Mostly me was being stupid. And so I take full blame for that split. That was my bad. But anyway, fast forward more than a decade later, somehow our paths crossed again on the internet, and we chatted, and it was like no time had passed, like beautiful, cosmic, like soulful, soulmate, love connection. That person had since gotten married and had 2 kids with someone who, you know, I don't know where they're at right now, but at the time when I was talking to this person in this reconnected moment, you know, at least a decade, probably 15 years after we first had that connection, they were like, yeah, my partner like tells me they hate me every second of every day, and it like kind of sounded abusive and crazy and terrible. You know, and I won't really get into any more details because it's not really that important. But, you know, at some point we stopped talking because of that, out of respect for that marital relationship. That was his call. And, you know, I respect it, and whatever, that's my disclaimer. But, you know, just because we encounter our soulmate or one of our soulmates or that past life connection, where it does feel like this beautiful, supportive, cosmic, like soul level of understanding, it doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to end up with that person. You know, like, we just didn't end up together, and that's just how it is. Like, at this point, I don't date people with kids. So, you know, even if that marriage did end, I would be very not really into going there. Just for that reason, it's just not what I see for my life. It's not what I want in my life. I don't really want to deal with anyone else's children, and I don't want children of my own. And so that ship has kind of sailed, and I'm thankful for those interactions. I'm thankful for that connection, because it showed me on a very spiritual, deep level, like, what love is, what love can be. And also, I think the very important life lesson that just because someone is our soulmate or one of our soulmates, or we've known each other in a past life, or twin flames, or whatever, you know, vibe, phrasing you want to call it, it does not mean you're going to end up together in this life. And so in that case, it was because we were kind of stupid teenagers being insane. Mostly me. I was going through a very traumatized moment. And so I was definitely not operating in a healthy way whatsoever. But we were both teenagers. We we're both kind of dumb, you know? It's what happens. And I'm using this as an example just because I feel like it's a pretty cute example, honestly. It's a positive example. But there's also a negative side to this, too, that I see often. And you know, there are some other folks who I've met in this lifetime who do I believe that maybe we had a past life connection, or we had met each other before in a previous life, and like I really did feel that. You know, there's some people who I felt that for, but I cut off like without a second thought, because like, oh, you're an active addiction. Oh, you're an alcoholic. Oh, you're a drug user. And all of those things are deal breakers to me, you know, past lives or not. That's just my own boundaries. That's just what I want for my life and what I don't want for my life. And I'm very clear about that. And so, you know, I could have let some of these folks manipulate me with this, like, oh, spiritual connection, past life, twin flame, soulmate, blah, blah, blah. But I was like, you know what? Absolutely the fuck not. I'm not going to do that. And have had some stories that I've heard from folks who, you know, did meet when they were both fucked up. And were able to work through that through a few years of fuckery, but are happy now. And I've heard that from a bunch of folks. And so that is definitely one path. So if you do want to, you know, work through that type of like dark stuff, like by all means have at it. But for me, that's not the choice that I'm comfortable making. And that's not where I am at right now. And so the reason I'm talking about this is to kind of show everyone that you don't have to make that choice either. Like just because someone is your quote unquote twin flame or one of your soulmates, or that you knew them in a past life, if they're acting abusively, if they're in addiction, if they are, I don't know, like stealing from you, if they're insulting you, if they are making you feel unsafe or threatening you, or they're just like in a fucked up place, or maybe they're not abusive, maybe they're just like, I don't know, acting fucking weird in a way that you don't appreciate, in a way that you don't want to be treated like, it's completely okay to walk away from that situation. It doesn't matter what the spiritual connection is. And so in a sense, like if you meet your, you know, fill in the blank, whatever you want to call this, like cosmic connection, which I believe we've got multiple ones that we can encounter in this life. But let's say you meet someone like that and they're like acting out of line. Let's say you meet someone like that and they're treating you in a way that makes you uncomfortable. Let's say they're pressuring you. Let's say they're like unhealthy. Let's say they are addicted. You can be like, no, fuck off, and like kick them to the curb. So in a sense, it's like, yeah, twin flame, who gives a fuck? If you're not treating me the way I want, then get fucked. Bye. Yeah, okay, soulmate past life connection. If you're treating me with disrespect, get lost. I don't care. And so I really wanted to talk about this just because I think it's so powerful. And I think this idea that we only have one soulmate or one twin flame or one, you know, past life love connection to find in this life, I think is just wrong. I think that keeps us in this fearful scarcity mindset. And I think, unfortunately, it also inspires a lot of people to make excuses for abusive and dysfunctional and harmful and malicious behavior. And so whenever folks use this spiritual ideas to excuse abuse, then I'm like, okay, no intervention. Like, let's talk about this. You know, because at the end of the day, if someone doesn't treat you with respect, if someone doesn't treat you with kindness, then like, fuck off. It doesn't matter how many lifetimes you knew them in before. It doesn't matter. No matter what that spiritual connection is, I think it still is important to walk away when someone is not in a good space. Doesn't have to be your problem. You know? And I see a lot of women especially using these spiritual concepts to like continue to expose themselves to bad behavior from other people, particularly from men. And it just breaks my heart because there's another option that's possible. And if you found one person that you have that soulful, deep connection with, I can guarantee you, like, I'll bet like $1 bazillion that you'll be able to find that again with somebody different who is more evolved, who is vibrating at a better frequency, who is healthier, who is more healed, and who is more able to operate from a space of kindness and integrity and actual authentic care. And so if you are feeling this like scarcity mindset of like, oh my God, it will only ever be this person, like I just want to invite you to move past that and to embrace abundance instead. And I know that sounds very cheesy, but I really do believe that that's really, really important thing to be able to do. Because there's a bazillion, zillion people on this planet, and you are one person, and there's just so many people. And I guarantee you that whoever is the right person for you is out there, and I guarantee there'll be someone who you feel good with, who is able to operate from a good place. A place that is healed and healing, a place that is kind, with good intentions, loving and caring as possible. So, you know, soulmate, all of that, twin flame, past life, that connection, it doesn't have to be hard. Like, if it is hard, you can absolutely like push through it if you want, I guess, but it doesn't have to be struggle love. It doesn't have to be a struggle. It doesn't have to be difficult. You know, I do know some folks have moved past that difficulty, but I don't think that's the right choice for everybody. And I know at this point in my life, it definitely would not be the right choice for me, because I just know that there's going to be someone out there that is able to operate on the same level that I am. And I would rather just not deal with anyone else's BS until whoever that person is, or whatever series of people that is, finds their way into my sphere. And so part of this is just another spiritual concept, right? Acting in accordance with faith, believing. Believing that more is possible, better is out there, it's this or something better. And so if you're going to work with spiritual concepts, work with those spiritual concepts in a way that elevates you, in a way that connects you to your power, in a way that connects you to possibility, as opposed to a way that shuts down possibility and keeps you small and even keeps you afraid. Because honestly, it's an abuser tactic for someone to say, you'll never find a love like this again. You'll never find anyone who loves you like I love you. You're going to be all alone. I've heard that from so many abusive people. My own fucking family told me that. And you know what? Like when I took that leap to believe, you know what? Get fucked. Fuck you guys. And if you're listening with children around, I apologize. But, you know, like honestly, it's a fucked up thing to say to anybody. If we're going to flip it, like I talked about in one of my previous episodes, and say, would you ever say that to somebody? And I'm sure pretty much all of you listening would never dream of saying that to anybody, because it's a fucked up and insane thing to say, right? But that scarcity tactic, there will never be another love like this. This is my only soulmate in the world. Like, this is my only chance at love, blah, blah, blah. All of that is using spiritual tactics to make excuses for abuse. And as a spiritual teacher, I cannot condone that. And so if you are doing that to yourself, if you're allowing other people to like brainwash you into believing that, please just use this episode as inspiration to try on a different story. Try on a different belief system, a belief system that is more around abundance, self-love, self-care, faith in the future, and see what that does. See what that does. Because I can guarantee if you don't have this like energy suck of someone who is, you know, on one hand saying all these spiritual things, on the other hand being insane, you're going to feel so much better, and you're going to have all of that time and space to heal, and that time and space to feel grounded and just feel into what does peace feel like? What does care feel like? What does true love feel like? Because I can guarantee you it does not feel like that bullshit that I was just talking about. Okay, my beautiful people, I hope that makes sense. I hope this resonated. And feel free to send it to anyone who you know who won't shut the fuck up about the twin flame thing and maybe has been in some shady situations due to that belief. Because I do think it can just create a lot of fuckery for people. And, you know, like I said, I'm not against soulmates, I'm not against love, I'm not against like all of that. What I am against is when people use spiritual ideas to excuse abusive behavior, and we're not about that, and we're going to step away from that. So yeah, that's what I wanted to say, my friends. Thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in me ever leading a workshop or a masterclass or even like a group coaching situation about any of these topics, because I've now done a few episodes about abuse, boundaries, feminine energy, masculine energy, all of that stuff, please let me know, because it is something that I'm playing with, the idea of creating an offering, whether that's a course or a group experience or something around these themes, because I do think they're so important, incredibly life-changing. And as I've grown, I just really do feel called to begin to teach more on these topics, because I do just think it's so important. So reach out, ceo@sabrinamscott.com, if this is something that you'd like to see. I also have a few other things on right now. One of them is I actually just uploaded a week ahead tarot reading for this week, the last week of March, to my YouTube. So my YouTube is Sabrina Scott, no M, just youtube.com/Sabrina Scott, and you'll be able to see the video. I did a live, my first YouTube live ever, and it's like 30 minutes long, and I go over all of the different vibes for this week. So if you guys like it, please let me know. Again, just like subscribe, like, comment, all of that on YouTube, and let me know, because my first time doing it, I've never done the weekly live, like, you know, tarot vibe check type of thing. But if you guys like it, let me know, and it'll just become a weekly thing, because it was pretty fun to do. Didn't take me that long, and it's always good to just like plan and prep for the week ahead. In the next episode, I will be talking more about some of my super affordable ways of jumping into magic and vibes and all of that. So stay tuned for that. I look forward to talking about it, because it's just like really exciting. If you want to have a little sneak peek before you listen to that episode, go to sabrinamscott.com/magicmay. Just the month, MAGICMAY, Magic May, and you can take a sneak peek at what I've got in store for y'all in May. I'm super excited. Okay, friends, that's enough of me for now. I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful afternoon, wonderful evening, whenever it is you happen to be listening to this. Take care. Much love. Bye.